Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode on the Living Life Naturally podcast. We are so happy to have you here. Of course, I'm Lynn Wadsworth, your host. And ladies, I'd love to invite you to my group of women who are on a holistic journey to get more energized, lose more weight. That's the Energized Healthy Women's Club on Facebook, and there will be a link in the show notes. Would love to have you join us and come join us in the conversation and on the journey. But today we're speaking with Katie Bramlett, and she is a mother of two. She's the CEO and co-founder of WeShape. So WeShape concentrates on the goal that you should strive to feel better in your body and not focus on how to change your body. So she's had over 20 years of experience, and Kate is passionate about social change. And she's leading WeShape's brand mission of bringing awareness to the toxic weight loss culture and helping people break free from needing to change how they look to feel validated and worthy. So her entire company and her product is rooted in intention, movement, community, and beliefs. So Katie and her team deliver customized training and nutrition plans, and she values each member with giving personalized workouts. So welcome to our podcast, Katie. We're thrilled to have you with us.
Hi, Lynn. Thank you for having me.
Where are you joining us from?
I'm in Santa Cruz, California.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. So let's start a little about your journey. What even brought you to the point of where you're at now with this fitness app? And, what's your own journey that brought you to bringing this new revolution to the fitness world?
I appreciate you asking that because the history is so important. My co-founder and I used to own a body transformation company. So we were a prescriptive diet and exercise company with the main primary intention of helping people lose weight and transform their body. And, we did this for a while. We were very successful. We had made the Inc. 500 3 years in a row.
Mm.
We were scaling our team. We had thousands of clients. And through all of this, there was something interesting that I was noticing, which is why does my life feel like I've checked all the boxes, but something doesn't feel right? And I just got curious with that kind of discomfort. And it's like pulling a string on a sweater. It just kind of kept unraveling. And what I discovered was that while I had good intentions of helping people, I wasn't actually really offering what they were after. What most of those people, or if not all of them, were after was a feeling of self-acceptance, a feeling of validation, a feeling of worthiness. And they chose weight loss as the vehicle to get to that path. Well, the problem with that is it wasn't sustainable for many of them. And I thought this might not be the right path for me, what I want to use my company for, and I want to go a little bit deeper. So we ended up making a difficult decision to shut that company down and to start something different. So I really wanted to focus on the emotional, psychological, social piece of this problem that I discovered. And my co-founder is a movement, I like to call him like a movement nerd. He loves helping people feel better in their body through movement. And he has always believed that the fitness industry is so focused on calorie burning and ballistic movements. And he's like, that is not what our bodies want long term, but that's what sells. So he was like, I'm going to take a completely different approach. I'm going to get an engineering team and we're going to build a product that is customizable, that's rooted in movement science. And I said, okay, and I'm going to get a team that's going to help people focus on the deeper desires that they really have, which are how do we lean more into acceptance of self and build a community of people that are banding together to sort of unsubscribe from a lot of the toxic messages that are placed on women specifically.
Yeah, they
So
most
that's
definitely
WeShape
are.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big part of what I talk to my clients and my own community about is, and I've been the gambit, like I'm sure so many of your clients have, from overweight to anorexic, even thinking at 90 plus pounds that I was fat. And it's this whole bombardment that we have, social media, advertisement. I think probably social media is even worse now than the advertising industry. So that's super exciting that you've found a way to get people to move out of that like diet culture being dependent upon that to how we feel and how we look and what our own self-worth is. I think as women, we find it very difficult to find our own self-worth. And as you say, it comes a lot through how we feel we look like. So give us a couple of tips on how to get out of that mentality.
Yeah, I mean, I think the number one thing I tell people is like, uh, we talk about this infinity cycle here at WeShape,
Mm,
where we're going to do this diet and exercise plan. We're going to lose weight. We're going to do this thing that's going to change everything. And then for whatever reason, it doesn't work. And so then we go left and we're going to do this new one. Oh, okay, it's this thing. And then, oh, that didn't work. So now we're going to go right. But like you just keep going around and around and around in like an infinity loop. And you think
mm,
you're going a different direction because that time you went left and then the next time you went right, but you're really just circling back around. And it's tricky because I think a lot of people think, oh, I just haven't tried the right thing. And once I find the right diet or exercise plan, then I'll get what I need. And I just, yeah. So I ask people, like, has it been working for you? And if the answer is no, it hasn't, then I say, are you willing to be curious about a completely different way? And most of the time, people are. And often that curiosity can, then they come to our community and we have 4 different pillars that we're really focusing on to help with that. So it's intention. And, I don't want to say that like weight loss shouldn't be somebody's goal. I actually want to give people full body autonomy to figure out whatever works best for them. But I do ask them to experiment with weight loss not being the primary goal.
mm.
Can we have a different primary goal and maybe that will come, but like, let's just try having a different primary goal for a month. So we try to get people to focus on a different intention and always coming back to that. And then we're focusing on movement. So we have various ways that we offer that in our product. We have like 10-minute stretching routines or 30-minute workouts that are customizable for how you're feeling that day. And we believe that all movement counts. So like there's this notion in
Mhm.
the fitness industry that if you don't, burn 1,000 calories, the workout doesn't count. We don't agree with that. The science doesn't agree with that. So we're focusing more on movement related workouts that you get to decide what works best for you. And all of it counts here, even if
Yeah.
it's just 5 or 10 minutes. And then we're focusing on community, right? Like you said, social media is a tricky place to be if you're trying to learn how to accept yourself. And so we have a community here of people who are offering, we have daily community calls, there's support calls. We have our movement coach that help with, pain calls or whatever might be going on in your body. We have experts that come in and debunk some, myths that could be happening in the fitness industry. So we're trying to form a community of people because when we all come together and say, yeah, we all want to unsubscribe from this, it gets a little easier than feeling like you're by yourself.
Mm,
And then
absolutely.
we have the 4th pillar of beliefs. So a lot of the reason why we behave the way we behave and continue to participate in this infinity cycle is because we have a belief that it will work or that it will bring us joy or happiness or self-worth. So we're asking people to get curious about those beliefs. And then we have a podcast called the Feeling Lighter podcast,
Mm.
where we're bringing in different experts to maybe shed light on things and maybe poke at some of our beliefs so that we can maybe pick one that will better serve our emotional well-being.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, there are so many, especially I think as we age, there are so many beliefs out there that, well, if I go to the gym so many times a week and I do this many reps, it's going to make a huge difference. And yet I've heard my clients say, I've been doing all of this and nothing's working for me. And I've learned over the years that it's really, for me, um, movement is part of it, absolutely. And I think that we all can do that. And as you say, everything counts. Parking further from the grocery store and walking further, that counts. And I don't like an emphasis on the scale at all. I'd throw it out for people if I
Absolutely.
could.
We agree with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. There are so many things that you can do because my goal or my intention is always my health and anti-aging.
Yeah.
And if you put your health first, all the other stuff kind of falls into place when you've got that intention.
Yeah. And what a tricky concept for a lot of women who most of us were trained to put others' needs before ourselves.
Yes, yes.
So, what does it look like to prioritize my own needs? And then in that, um, how do I set an intention of feeling good and moving well and developing community rather than obsessing about how thin I am or, those things I've watched this in our old company with thousands of people. It's a trap. People never get what they actually want. And so shifting that intention to feeling good and being a part of a community and not acting from a place of judgment or criticism or expectation of other, those are hard things to shift, but I have seen it like really do
Mm,
wonders for people. I've
mm.
really seen huge transformations in a way that I had never seen before in our old company, even when in our old company, people were losing tons of weight, right? Like the transformations I see today are significantly more powerful.
Yeah, and I think that the power in that is for our middle-aged audience, and I hate using that word, but women 40 plus who have really started to wonder, hey, what's life about? What's this
Mm-hmm.
about? And they get into this trap of feeling that they've got to accomplish something, they've got to do something, and they don't sit and take the time for that self-care or self-love or putting into their bodies what they need. But it's the same whatever age you're at. Our society is so busy, so we're always running around doing things and not taking time for ourselves.
I mean, absolutely. And I think that, yeah, that it, like I said, I do feel like it's a trap for women of your worth is derived from how you look and your worth is derived from how much you're willing to sacrifice for others. Like those have been my biggest lessons thus far
Mm,
in life around my worth is does not come from that. I had a therapist one time a few years back tell me, it was like the end of our session and she looked at me and she said, Katie, I just want to check in with you because I thought you knew this, but I'm beginning to think that you don't understand something. And I said, what? And she said, do you know that you don't have to do anything to have value in the world? Like you don't have to run a business, you don't have to be a super mom, you don't have to look a certain way. Like, you don't have to do anything and you still have value. And I said, wait, what? Like it hadn't even occurred to me. But I think that we unconsciously act from that place because, and not to our own fault, just because that's how we've been conditioned. So I do love to give women permission to rest. I
mm,
do love to give women permission to have boundaries. I do love to give women permission and say, maybe the industry tells you your body's supposed to stay the same your whole life, but that's actually not how bodies work. So, like, when we really stop and wake up a little bit to this idea of like, wait, this is what I've been told. Is this even true? Is this even reality? And we start to see, oh, it's not. I mean, that curiosity is the pulling of the sweater, and you can't unsee it once you've seen it. And it can be all, life altering, but for the better in the end. I believe it can be a journey, but in the end, or somewhat along the journey, you start to discover, oh my God, thank God I don't have to adhere to that standard anymore. That was exhausting. I have permission to be
right.
free from it. And that is what I really would love to offer people here is some form of self-liberation where they get to really decide the path that works for them. I'm not anyone's guru. WeShape isn't here to, tell you what to do. We love to lead you to you and to what you think is best. So it's a journey, but I think it's a
Mm,
worthwhile endeavor.
mm. Tell me a little bit more about your app.
Yeah, so people can log in, do a daily stretching routine, do a daily workout that's customized for them in real time. They can join daily live Zoom calls. We have like a community feed. They have access to our podcast. They have like a little journal area where they can, reflect their intentions and their why. We're on, Apple and Android devices, and it's a really easy to use app that is taking a very different approach to how we move our body and care for ourselves.
Mm. Just give me an example of a couple of ways that you teach people to move their bodies.
Yeah, so we ask people a pretty detailed intake form around like what their body, like where their body is. Like, do you have a shoulder injury? How far can you extend your arm? And then it's a little bit complicated behind the scenes, but it's a very easy experience for the client. But behind the scenes, we essentially have thousands of movement videos, and we piece all of those together to create a workout that's exactly what you need. And then when you're doing the workout in real time, you can like say, oh, my shoulder's kind of bothering me. And you can say scale down. And then the next movement will be the same exercise, but a tiny bit of a variation of that to make it a little easier for yourself. So we believe in customized movement because everybody is so different, and our product gives you the opportunity to get that and to interact with it so that it can change day to day based on how you're feeling.
Mm. So I want to come back what you've mentioned a couple of times. I know we talked about it before we got onto the podcast, but the way that people believe that their bodies stay the same, because it's one of the biggest things that I come up against with women saying to me, I don't understand it. I've never had this stomach before. I've never had this before or that before. I don't know what's happening to my body. And there seems to be this lack of knowledge and education for us as we age. So I'm assuming your workouts are tailored for women specific ages, and they're all a little bit different. Tell us a little bit about how you think women's bodies change that might be maybe a light bulb experience for someone.
Yeah, well, as it pertains to the movement side, yeah, our exercises and workouts are scalable from someone who's in bed all the way to like a professional athlete. So a lot of women in their 60s and 70s are part of our community because we can adhere to exactly what they need, and we place realistic expectations on what their body actually wants, which is quality movement patterns. I want to be able to go up the stairs. I want to be able to pick something up without pain. Like those are the things that our body really wants as we get older. And we just have had it backwards because we had just been focused on calorie burning and thinness forever. But we're not focusing on that. And we're able to help people wherever they are and wherever they hope to go in their movement journey. But yeah, I think that, I'm discovering myself as I have entered perimenopause. Like I started noticing my body change when a couple years ago when I was about 37 or 38. And I went, what the hell is happening inside my body? And I went, luckily, there are some people on the internet now who are doing important work and bringing advocacy and education, because when my mom went through that, no one talked about perimenopause being possibility at 35.
No.
And now it's finally coming out, and it just highlights how like the world that we live in is not built for women. Because if it was, we would have known a lot of this. The resources would have been dedicated to the research, to the education, and to the treatment of people who are struggling. Everyone has a different reaction to perimenopause. Some of my friends haven't noticed. I have had significant shifts in my body, and it's not about the way my body looks. When I say that, I mean how I feel. Like I've had debilitating anxiety that wasn't there before. I wake up in the middle of the night and have a hard time going back to sleep. That was never an issue. My fatigue, my PMS symptoms, like all of those like really shifted for me to the point where I thought, what do I do? And then that's when I discovered, oh, the world hasn't caught up with that this is a thing and we need to be talking about it. So I think we just need to be like, I even highlight how when I was growing up, like getting a menstrual cycle was considered gross.
Yes.
I'm like,
yes.
Half of the population does this, and those are the people who make all the people. Like, it should be like our culture should be viewing this through the lens of reverence and respect. Instead, I'm disgusted. Like it's all backwards. Every single part of like women and their bodies and hormones and aging, like basically everything, in my opinion, is completely backwards. So I've just experienced it myself, and I have two daughters, and I don't want them to grow up in a world where they feel
Right.
that way. So I'm on a mission to give women permission to not feel shame, to join a community that is there to hold them and support them and kind of band together against a lot of those beliefs.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, because I'm older than you, but uh, my mum never discussed menopause. Um, Nobody I knew ever discussed menopause. And when I started doing my podcast and getting more into talking to women 40 and beyond, and as you say, for some even as early as 35, um, it was just so exciting to me because it was like people would say, we've never heard this before. And a lot of people I podcast with had the same thing that, we just don't talk about it. We don't talk about how when you get into midlife, your whole perspective on life might change. It's different for some people, or you might feel, I hate my job. Why am I doing this? But I don't want to change, but yet it's a perfect time for change. And there's so much power for us as women when we learn to embrace who we are and what we were meant to be.
I mean, the metaphor of women should strive for thinness and being small is overwhelming. Like, whoever made the rule that women should be small and thin and quiet, I'd love to have a conversation with them, because that just keeps women trapped, and it keeps women suffering, and it keeps women not speaking up. So in some ways, it is uncomfortable to have these
Yes,
conversations
yes.
because it's not always welcomed by other people. But I say we have to do it anyway because the old way is not working. And I, again, wish for my daughters to grow up in a very different world than this.
Yeah. I have to say for my granddaughters, and I believe even my grandsons have had a different perspective, but definitely my daughters bringing up my granddaughters to feel so differently about themselves, and I look back on what I did to my children because I mirrored what my mum and dad had said to me, or, oh, we don't talk about that. And it's all just so silly. It's
It
silly
is.
nonsense.
Yeah. And just even, I noticed when my daughters were even really small, like there's just really silly things, like a lot of comments on how they look. And I'm like, and they're smart and they're strong. And, it's like, versus I feel like little boys are like, oh, look at how athletic he is. I'm like, let's stop putting people in boxes. And I have a rule in our house. We don't comment on bodies because bodies are something that's out of our control. Like, if I comment on somebody's hair, that might be a nice compliment, but that person doesn't really have control over what hair they have. So I try to have a rule in our house where we only compliment things that are actually in people's control. Oh, you were really brave that
Mm,
you stepped up and did that, or you worked really hard and you pushed through something that you didn't want to do, but you knew you kind of had to at
mhm,
school, or I think that is sort of a nice rule that would really benefit a lot of people, and especially women. Like, I can't
mm,
tell you how many, and I know it's not always ill-intended, but like after I had babies, like so many comments from people on my body. I'm like, please don't talk about that. It's none of your business. So I think the general rule of thumb is we don't talk about other people's bodies could maybe serve us in many, many ways moving forward.
mm, absolutely. So as we wrap up, I just want you to tell us a little bit more about your app and how people get involved with it, and some of the ins and outs of it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's really simple. You can go to the App Store and search for WeShape, or you can go to our website, WeShape.com. And I actually have a special link for your listeners. It's WeShape.com/naturally. And if they go to that link, they can get a 2-week free trial. We will ask you a series of questions so we can best suit what movements would be good for your body. And then once you're in on the website or in on the app, you can, just it's very like user friendly. You just play for the workouts or play for the stretching routines. And then there's a series of calls that you can join on a daily basis if you desire. And it's very easy to navigate. So once you're in, it's pretty self-explanatory.
And so do you do this like a monthly membership fee or a one-time purchase of the app?
We have a couple options. Some people want to pay for an annual membership. It's a little less expensive. Some people pay for quarterly, or for people who just want to do monthly, it's $39 a month.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. Appreciate. I think that that's wonderful because it is so different from what our mindset is normally concerning our fitness.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of women in our community are taking a big, deep breath that they can just stop expending so much energy on those things that don't really matter anyway.
I'll tell you, when I walk on my treadmill and it counts my calories, and I walk pretty fast, you think, people have said to me, oh, well, you walk for 30 minutes, you expend 30 calories. And I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah,
It's really, you shouldn't be measuring what your calorie use is in and out. You want to measure how you feel and how certain things make you feel.
absolutely. Definitely a better approach.
So thank you so much for joining us all the way from sunny, I hope, California.
Very sunny today, yes.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
You have been listening to the Living Life Naturally podcast, where we're on a mission to inform, inspire, and encourage women to live their best life confidently, joyfully, and freely from what's been holding them back. For show notes and free resources, visit holistic-healthandwellness.com. And I'd be delighted if you'd follow us on socials to connect further. If you enjoyed this show, why not share it with your friends? If you found good value, chances are they will too. And of course, a 5-star review on iTunes is always greatly appreciated, as much as I appreciate you listening. So until next time, live life naturally and joyfully.